So, Connell, have you Googled yourself lately?
Who would be that self-centered?
Oh, please, everybody does it, and you know it. Well, some people do not like what they're finding.
Are you looking at me?
No, it's your turn. Go.
You know, large corporations, this is true, they're also worried about this. It's a big issue about what's being written about them on the internet and, you know, what it's doing to their reputations and what have you. So some companies are trying to take charge of this, getting some PR on it. And Rob Neppell is the president of Kithbridge, Inc., which is a conservative. He is a conservative blogger, and he looks over these issues, you know, for companies in general as well. You've been brought in, Rob, right, for companies to look at what people are saying about them. I mean, here we are in our first week on the air, and we were joking around about it, but we look, you know, to see what people are saying about us. It's important to companies, isn't it?
Absolutely. You have to know what's being said about you on the internet these days. You know, without having that information, you're really flying blind from a public relations standpoint.
But what are they concerned about, Rob? And what are some of the things that you're on the lookout for when you go to work for corporations?
Well, you have to have total awareness of what's being said about your company, about your brand, and about your products. So if a blogger makes a comment about the service they received from you, or whether it's positive or negative, you want to know about that. And if it's negative, you want to be able to address it. If it's positive, you may want to reach out to that blogger and say thank you and build a relationship with someone who is using your products and services and use that to build up your brand even further.
Give me an example of how a blogger has said something negative about a company, and that's, you know, had an impact on a company. Are there any good examples of that?
Well, I think a great example when the textbook is written about blogs and corporations will be Jeff Jarvis, who writes at buzzmachine.com, going on essentially a crusade against Dell Computer. Way back in 2005, he wrote a post expressing significant frustration with his new Dell computer and the service that he received. The beginning was Dell sucks, Dell lies, and it degraded into language that I won't use on the air here. Over the past 2 years, he continued to write about Dell and his dissatisfaction with them, and slowly Dell came around and realized that he was leading a groundswell of bloggers all saying bad things about them. So fast forward to today, and when I saw Jeff a few weeks ago, he actually has now been to Dell. He's met Michael Dell. He's toured their factories, and Dell has essentially turned around and is now embracing him and other bloggers and trying to open up and change the way that they're doing business and change the way they're interacting with the blogosphere. So that's one example of something that started extremely badly, but has turned around, and a company has seemed to have learned the lesson.
Well, is that what companies should do and are do? Other companies embracing bloggers who have complaints about the company's products or service, or are they taking another tact and suing them?
Well, suing a blogger is probably the worst thing you can possibly do. Obviously, if there's genuinely libel or something illegal going on, that's a course of last resort. But you always look like Goliath beating up on David if you even send a cease and desist order to a blogger. Just try talking first. Get your facts out. Make sure that, you know, if there is a legitimate complaint on the blogger's part, that you address the substance of it, that you try and make personal contact with them and say, look, we'd like to try and work this out. We'd like to try and understand what your concerns are. But the absolute last thing you should do is send them any kind of legal notice, because what are they going to do? They're going to post it, and then they'll get even more attention to that issue.
How do you know, though, when to ignore versus engage? Is there a number of readers on a blog you should look at and say, all right, these people are getting a lot of attention. We need to talk to them about it?
Well, that's where real knowledge of who the bloggers you're dealing with comes into play, and that's what I try and do with my company, which is provide advice and guidance to other companies that need to understand not just is a blog somewhere saying something about them, but is that blog one they need to be worried about, and track not just if something is showing up on one blog, but is it being picked up and filtered upwards to the higher and higher traffic blogs when it really does become something you need to worry about because it is getting widespread attention. So you have to have the context of not just a blog somewhere noted something about your company, but who is that blogger, how popular are they linked in with other bloggers, and are they picking up the story?
Well, what about corporate employees blogging about the company that they work for? There have been reports around about people within companies blogging and spreading gossip. There have been stories here in New York City from the magazine business where that happened. Is that a growing problem?
Well, Well, I think it's a growing trend. Whether it's a problem or not really depends on how it's done. I think the idea of having bloggers within your company talking about your company is a very good one in general. Microsoft in particular has done quite a bit over the past few years to really open up and encourage blogging within their own company by their employees. Obviously, there need to be some ground rules. If an employee is blogging about confidential or trade secret information, you need to have a conversation with them about that. But I think companies start with an attitude that disclosing anything about the workplace, from what's in the cafeteria to their trade secrets, should all be treated the same way, and it shouldn't. A little disclosure and a little bit of opening up to your customers is actually a very good thing, and it makes you see, particularly if you're a very large corporation with a very large image like Microsoft, it can be very helpful to humanize the company and let people know that the large, huge company is actually made up of individual people trying to do their jobs.
Rob Neppell, thank you so much from Kithbridge. Thanks for joining us.